Hey everyone, welcome back to Ontario Gardening. Today I am going to show you how to do winter sowing. So if you've made it this far, you probably know what that is. It's basically we are taking recycled containers. Typically people use milk jugs, but I'm in Ontario and it's kind of hard to get milk jugs where I am. But anyways, they use this recycled bottles, and it basically turns these into mini little greenhouses where we can throw these out even outside into the snow and minus temperatures, and still in the spring have little sprouts to plant out in the garden. This is great for people if you don't have anywhere to sow seeds inside or start seeds early inside, or you don't have a setup and you only need a few things. So the first item that you're going to need is recycled containers. So you are looking for milk jugs, water jugs, 2-liter soda jugs, juice jugs. Like, you can use any of these products as long as they are more of a see-through material. So if you use like a bleach jug where there is not going to be any light that's going to be able to get into those, it's not really going to work. Now, I did find milk jugs in my area, but I thought that it was chocolate milk, and I thought that the milk was brown, not the container. So this is probably not going to work. I am going to try it anyways, just to experiment. I'll just try it with a couple of like duplicate seeds that I have, that I won't be sad if they, because I bought 2 of them. I really did think that it was just brown. But anyways, so you're going to need milk jugs. You're going to need soil to put inside. Just a potting soil or container soil is good for that. You are going to need a drill or a hot glue gun to get holes into this. And you, of course, are going to need your seeds, duct tape, a really good knife or an X-Acto knife, and a Sharpie or another way to label these jugs. So the first order of business is rinsing out and getting your jugs clean. The second, and I took all the labels off mine. It was a little bit of a pain, but I was able to get them off. I soaked them in water. So after you've done that, you discard all of the lids, because we are going to want any rain or snow to get in there and create condensation in that like mini greenhouse effect. So we want to get rid of all the lids. And now we are going to cut these things in half. Now, before we do that, we want to create drainage holes on the bottom. So this is where I say take your drill or a hot glue gun. Now, I say a hot glue gun because this will be no problem to drill into. It's a harder plastic. But once you start getting into plastic like this, where it's kind of flimsy and a little bit crumbly, you might push too hard with the drill and it could crumble in your hands. We don't want that. So a hot glue gun will burn holes in. So we're putting about 5 to 6 holes on the bottom. If you're using a drill, we're just going to do, I believe this is about 1/2 inch. We're going to use that drill bit, and we are going to just drill 5 or 6 holes in the bottom to create that drainage. So I'm going to go ahead, do that off camera, and then show you. Okay, so I've got my holes drilled into the bottom of my greenhouse. Now I am going to want to cut a slice right down the middle of the bottle horizontally, but not going all the way through. So enough to have it open up like this, like a Pac-Man. I will show you what I mean. So the best idea I would say would be take a Sharpie, mark off this over here, turn it around, and then mark the other side, and then cut all the way across without cutting the other side. So like a half smile. I'll show you what I mean. But make sure that you're really safe with that X-Acto knife, and a really sharp one is going to help you. Like a kitchen knife, I wouldn't recommend that. Use an X-Acto knife if you can. So as you can see, I have cut it all the way through the middle without hitting and going through all the way on the other side. It just allows you to open it nicely. Okay, so once you have done that with all your bottles, at that point we can start to put some soil in. So go ahead and fill the bottom of your container with soil. And just so everyone knows, you're looking for that light, fluffy soil, like I said, that you will put in a container. A seed starting mix would work just fine. But I like to usually use Pro Mix. I just bought some cheaper stuff from the store since this is going to go sit outside in the snow. But yeah, put that into the bottom of all your containers. Okay, so we have got our soil in there, and I would suggest doing this somewhere on a surface that it doesn't matter if it gets dirty or that you can clean up easily, because we do have the holes on the bottom of these jugs, so there might be a little dirt that comes out. But we have got our container with our soil in here. It's at this point we want to get our soil wet. So you can either, I would suggest putting this in a sink or in your bathtub or whatever, and we're going to get that soil nice and moist, and then we are going to let it drain out the bottom just for a few minutes so it's not sopping wet and dripping anymore. And then once you do that, we can bring it back to our surface and plant our seeds. So I'm going to go do that with all of these just so we don't make a huge mess, and then we'll continue. Okay, so I have all of my jugs with the soil in it. We opened them all up and got the soil nice and wet. We're going to take them back and plant our seeds now. So for this part, you are just going to make sure you need some duct tape and at least a Sharpie. If you wanted to be extra, you could use plant labels and actually label the inside before you close up your greenhouse, but it's not necessary. As long as you have a Sharpie or something that's not going to come off in the elements outside, you should be okay. So you're going to pick seeds that are frost hardy or cold hardy. So you're looking for seeds, such as lettuces, kales, your brassicas, things that can tolerate a little bit of frost. We're not going to plant tomatoes or anything, cucumbers, that are going to be frost intolerant, because we don't want these seedlings to die off. So look for on the package for things that say things like perennials, because we can do perennials. Plant in fall, direct sow in early spring, because then you know that the seeds themselves will be able to tolerate the cold. Because basically what's going to happen is the seeds are going to go in here. It's going to act as a greenhouse, and it's on the days that's going to use the condensation and days that are warmer and the sun to germinate those seeds. But they're not really going to get a really good grow until the weather starts to warm up a little bit. But it's almost like direct sowing outside with the added greenhouse effect. So pick what you want to sow, and then after you've done that, we're going to plant them in the seeds as according to package, so using the proper planting depth and spacing out. A lot of people, I have noticed, will just sprinkle the entire packet in there, and whatever sprouts. You can do that. It's just come the spring, once these have all sprouted and you're opening this lid back up, you're going to have to thin them out, and you're probably going to waste a lot of seeds doing that. So it's okay to put a few extra in case some don't germinate, but I wouldn't recommend sprinkling the entire package in there. It's just going to be a waste, in my opinion, unless you're doing something that would be able to really easily thin apart, or things that you don't mind wasting. Then that's cool. If you have an abundance of seeds or you save your own seeds, that would be cool. But go ahead and sow in each container the stuff in there. So let's start doing that now. So as you can see, I have planted 6 spinaches in here. So I have given them enough space that when they start to sprout, I could thin them out. So we're just planting according to seeds. So these just require a little bit of seed depth, so I'm just pushing them in. We don't want to go too deep because it's going to take forever for those guys to sprout out as they're trying to grow. And that's it. So we've planted our seeds in our container. Now at this point, you can, like I said, you can label them if you wanted to, but if you don't want to bother, that's okay. But we are going to close this back up, and we're going to put a piece of duct tape just along here, along the cut line, and this way it acts as that closing and that barrier from any moisture getting in. So make sure you're duct taping all the way around that line where you've cut. Okay, so as you can see, I have put a piece of duct tape along that edge, and I have written on the duct tape, I've also written on the bottle what it is that is in here. So my recommendation is to use duct tape, because you know that that's not going to go anywhere. Duct tape typically sits and does really well. If you use like a painter's tape or a masking tape, there's a risk that it doesn't hold, and you're going to have to go outside and check it. So let's go put these outside. We're going to put them in a place that gets a lot of direct sunlight, and make sure that it's not under an awning or anything that's covered, because we want condensation to build up inside. So we want snow and rain and things like that to get inside. So let's go throw them out, and I will tell you a little last tip. Okay, so it's a nice blistering freezing day here, and we are going to put these jugs all out in the snow. So you want to pick a spot that predominantly gets a lot of sun, because once it starts getting that condensation in it and it gets that greenhouse effect, you want the heat, you want the sun in it. So my garden beds get tons of sun. It'll get sun here, but it's about 4:30 in the afternoon, so the sun's going to start going down. But I'm going to take them out of this tote and put them in the snow. And that is it for winter sowing. Super, super easy. You might want to come out here like once, maybe every couple weeks, and just make sure that the soil is still getting enough of the weather inside, nice and moist, and that it is able to get, like I said, that greenhouse effect. But other than that, Callie, we got our first seeds planted for the new garden already, and it is February. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye.